Master Wave.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Seek Joy, the podcast. As you know, my name is Cheyenne and I am your host. If you're new here, welcome. If you're old here, welcome back. If you don't know where to find us, Apple, YouTube, Spotify, please like, subscribe, share, do something I always ask you to. And sometimes I need to eyeball y'all because I don't know if you really be doing it, okay? Do you love me, yes or no? Yes or no? I'm just kidding. Okay, period. So I have somebody back with me, but we look different because we didn't record on the same day. We had to marinate on it and allow it to take some time. But I have Hayley back with me for part two. Part two. Yes, I'm excited for you to be back because I know we just watched your part one individually. Like I sent it to you, you watched it. I told you I rewatched it. And I've had a lot of people honestly already make comments about it in a good way and reach out to me about it for real. Yeah, so I'm excited for you to dig in, but I know you talked, but I think it's good. You mentioned wanting to do a recap of kind of like that episode, just in case if you're just now tuning in, you don't know the first part. Go ahead, Miss Hayley.
Well, so let's sum it up. So we talked about how I grew up in the church. Grandparents are the backbone. They're the one that hold the faith in the family. We talked about my dad, how he groomed my mom and my stepmom. He sexually abused us while also trafficking us out for drugs and for whatever he needed. Not a nice man, very abusive. We talked about me getting raped in high school, getting pregnant, and then we talked about me possibly going to get an abortion, but I've never clarified that. I actually never went and got an abortion. I miscarried. I guess we'll touch base on it later. Yeah. And then we talked about my divorce, if you will, my marriage. We were together for about a decade.
Which is a long time.
Yeah, it is. I have two beautiful kids together, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, Charlie Love and Marcelo. He's something else. And then we kind of talked about just the toxicities of that. And then what else did we talk about? We talked about forgiveness. That was a big one. And giving it all to the Lord.
Period.
Because he wants it all. He wants the good, the bad, I guess the ugly is the bad.
But yeah.
What else can we recap on?
I feel like that was a lot of it, honestly.
Yeah.
It was a good chunk.
We went through like my sibling timeline. There's 9 of us. I'm the middle. I'm the 5th one. So yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. Okay. Good recap. 12 out of 10. Break to the next section.
Yes.
Wherever you want to start, whether it's like, you talked about, because that is a good point. You didn't talk about the thought of wanting to go through an abortion, but then getting a miscarriage. So how, like, because I think that is something huge for women. Abortion, one in and of itself, before you know the Lord. I know that can be really something women consider, but then also the reality of going through a miscarriage and what that looks like. If you want to touch on that, I think that would be great for a lot of women.
So my first miscarriage was obviously from a rape. And I wasn't planning on keeping him or her. So I didn't have the grieving process like most women would go through when they have a miscarriage. And I honestly just chalked it up to a bad period and called it a day because wasn't going to tell anybody except for the person. I had an older friend who was going to take me that following weekend
to go,
to do the abortion. But I did miscarriage before having Charlie. And we found out that I didn't even realize I had miscarried. TMI, sorry guys, but I've never had regular periods. That normally happens with females who have like an intense amount of sexual abuse. So
interesting. I didn't know that. Wow.
So my periods were never regular. I think my junior year I had one TMI.
No,
so
TMI. This is interesting.
I never, for the other 2 miscarriages that I had, I didn't even know I was pregnant because it was just so normal for me to go months without having a period. So then I would just chalk it up, well, this is like 6 months of backup or but you're not supposed to clot really bad
Right,
with
right.
them, and it's not supposed they can be painful. Like my sister has really bad ones, but it's not supposed to like feel like you're dying. So I ended up going to my gynecologist. We had to have a pap smear anyways.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, So she asked me, she's like, what was your last period like? And I told her, and she was like, Hayley, I'm pretty sure you miscarried. And I was like, really? And me and my ex-husband were actually, at the time we were together, we were actually trying, like we weren't even married at this point, I don't think. And we were actually trying to have a child.
Yeah.
So that was devastating to find out. But because I also, again, didn't know I was pregnant,
Yeah.
I guess I just didn't grieve it in the way that most women do. But I've had like a lot of women in my life who have miscarried, and watching that is devastating and I feel like a lot of women feel like it's their fault, and it's not.
Right. Yeah, I think it can be interesting too, because I think it can be a grieving thing, but I also think that the Lord can use it and redeem it in a way that, like, even what you're saying, like you could have had an abortion or had a child by somebody from a really awful situation, and the Lord said, instead of you moving on with that, I'll have my kindness in this, and we're just gonna wipe it, which is an interesting perspective to have.
It is.
But I also think that could really be the kindness of the Lord in that entire situation, where you didn't have to go through this turmoil of then later in life of, oh, what if I wouldn't have got the abortion, or what if I would have, like with a lot of women that have done that, where they'll get an abortion, then years down the road they're like, well, what if I wouldn't have, or they have that like lingering like you're talking about, like shame or guilt with what that looks like. So I think that's also just the kindness of the Lord to have it be a miscarriage in that way.
I don't think I would have, like, maybe, and for me, I don't think I would have had that, like, a thought of, like, what if I would have done that? I think more my concern was, like, I wasn't old enough and mature enough. I was doing all kinds of drugs and partying and stuff like that. So, like, I wasn't in a mental state to take care of a kid. I was a kid myself. And then I also take it as, like, how do I want to word this? Like, well, not take it as, I see it as, like, that's 50% of the dad's DNA, and he is a rapist.
Right.
So what is that going to look like for the kid later on in life? Like, does that mean that that's what he or she's going to be, a predator, or are they going to get all the bad traits? Like, that's a concerning thing too.
Yeah.
But I love how when you look at situations, it's the kindness of the Lord. I think that's beautiful. Because I think it's so easy for people to just be like, why are you doing this? You hate me. You don't love me.
That's true.
But in reality, if you just flip the
him.
perspective, trust him, it's the kindness of him.
Yeah, and I think
to look out after you.
That's what it is, though. Is I think a lot of people, life is about perspective. And everything. And am I saying the Lord is like, you need to suffer, you're supposed, like, no, he's not like wishing horrible things upon people. Like, that's not who God is. But I also think that his ways are not our ways. He knows more than we know. Like, he's smarter than we are. Like, I think it's allowing, and it's also very freeing to release control and to trust the Lord with everything in your life. Like, because I think, and we talked about this, I think even last night, just like Christians really struggling to like release money to the Lord, like believing that that's the Lord's money and not our own, I think is really difficult for people to do. And let alone, like, I think that's why half the time for me, it's just, I believe, okay, God, like, you've been kind enough to give me this. You've been kind enough to be like, you know what? I love you enough for you to help you pay your bills. Here's some money for you. And then when I see somebody in need, I literally, like, the whole thing with the 2819 church that's going on, where like it's just insane, like praying and being like, God, how much do you want me to give? He'll give you a number and I'll be like, so what's the number you want me to give? Because like even in those moments I can see where I'm like a little bit, but it's like, do I trust him to really be my provider in every single thing, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, like all of it? Because I think it'll change the way that you live out your faith if you really see things as the kindness of the Lord and know that, like, he really loves you,
Mm-hmm.
and like what that love
Amen.
actually looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think we paint a picture of what love looks like because the world tells us love looks a certain way when the love of God can look very different
Mm-hmm.
and you can't comprehend it
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
sometimes. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And so I think that's why like I really try to do that, because it's um like even when I had that situation with my hands where it was
Mm-hmm.
like my fingers were really weird,
Yeah.
and I just like thanked the Lord. Like it was so painful. Like anything that I did and like touched or whatever, it was so painful. But I was like,
That's so interesting.
I know, I don't know, I literally don't know what it was. But I was like, thank you,
Mm.
Lord, that I can feel. Thank you, God, that
Mm-hmm.
I have fingers. Thank you, God. And then, hello, you prayed for me, and I wholeheartedly believe like that is why it got healed. But
Oh.
that's just another concept for another day.
Yeah. I also feel like what you give, or what, I don't want to say that the Lord takes from you, but like say you give $20 to a church, like the Lord will give that back to
Oh,
you
for sure.
and 10 times fold.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just trusting in Him is huge. It's huge, and it's something that I feel like people expect, that when you like, you decide to take that leap of faith and you start following Him, and then you get baptized. It's like it just all comes to you. And at least for me, it like it's taking time. Like I feel like within the last few months is when I've been like fully surrendering to Him, like just fired up, want more of Him, want to know Him, want a deeper relationship, trust that He's got my back. So
But I think that
yes.
it's normal. Like that is sanctification.
Mm-hmm.
That is the Lord consecrating you. Because I even say that's the kindness of the Lord. Because if the Lord came along and just like left to right super quick were everything, you would be so overwhelmed by how much things in your life, like he knows our humanness, he knows what we can handle, he knows, like everything like that. I think that's just the kindness of the Lord to be patient with us in our sanctification. Like he is patient, he is kind, like those are his characteristics. And so that's why I think when it came to even my beginning walk of my journey, like same things, there were things that were easy for me to like give up.
Yeah.
Like certain things where I'm like, okay, cake, boom, done. Cake, boom, done. You know what I'm saying? But like we even talk about it at our core group half the time where I'm like, Lord, help me with my mouth. Help me with the words that come out of my mouth. Like, and then I get frustrated with myself because I'm like, why is this taking so long? And then like the Lord's like, I don't know why you're frustrated with you. I'm not frustrated with you. I love you through it. And we're going to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're going to get there. So it's like, I think that's also the societal concept of, oh, you gave your life to the Lord. Like, why are you still cursing? Why are you still this? Like, you'll get there. The Lord convicts you in due time of like certain things because he knows, bro. Like that has been a very real thing where like one by one he's convicted me in certain things, and then it gets to the point like we talked about at the grocery store. Tell that part of like
I like was at the grocery store and I had like some things in I didn't get a cart. I'm one of those, okay? And I like had a bunch of things in my hand and I decided I didn't need one item. So I was like, let me just put this back on the cereal shelf. I actually don't remember what shelf it was, but it was not where it like, was supposed to go. And I like went to go walk away from it and I like he stopped me and I was just like, but it's just like
it's just there.
Like, So I turned around and picked it up and I walked it all the way back to where it was supposed to go.
Period. That's
like
real.
the smallest thing like that,
bro. And that's like what that's how you know you're very intimate and very close to him, because it's like quickly in the moment he's like, hey, because even like that's a level of integrity. Like as you grow in holiness, you're gonna realize like the smallest of things that you would have never thought of like a year and a half ago, you're now like, oh, this is low key morally wrong. Even though it's not that deep of it being morally wrong, it's like I know in my heart of hearts that doesn't belong on that shelf.
Yeah.
And who am I to make somebody else's job harder? Because then they're gonna have to.
Yeah.
Girl.
And who knows what they're going through? They're probably having all kinds of stuff, and they find that, and then it's like they're supposed to clock out, and like that takes them 5 more minutes to get off the clock so they can go home to their babies or whatnot.
Yeah.
But the course that you sent me, that made me think of the course that you sent me.
The Hearing God course.
Yes, but there was a thing that they said. It will come back to me. About my brain is farting.
No, it's okay. Was it
will
about
come back to
scripture?
me.
Was it about the Holy
Just throw it out
Spirit? Do you
there.
remember? Because I know we talked about it last night too. It's okay.
Well, that was about the messenger, but this was, they said, that God talks to us
Thank you, Lord.
differently, and like in different seasons too, because we're all different. Like And I related to that so much because as a parent, I get, like, I used to get so mad at my mom, like, well, you do this with my brother and you do this with Kinsey. Meh.
Yeah.
But now I get it. I got to talk to Charlie way different than I have to talk to Marcelo. And it depends on what they're going through in that moment.
That's
so
good.
there was just like the whole like working on things like cussing and stuff like that. We're all differently. So like what might be easier for me to give up at the start might not be easier for you to give up at the, the start of it.
Yep.
And he knows that.
And convictions are different.
Mm-hmm.
So like I always use this example, and I don't know why I always use this example, but the concept of let's say you're obsessed with golf,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't even realize you're idolizing it and putting it above your time with the Lord. The Lord's going to convict you about golf.
Mm-hmm.
He's never going to convict me about golf because I don't play golf.
Yeah.
You love golf.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a conviction for you because you've made it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That will never be something for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting in those ways because there will be things that you will feel convicted on that I will not feel convicted on, but that's because the Lord knows our hearts.
Yeah.
It knows. When I say, this is the thing though, I hate this saying, the Lord knows my heart. But do you understand he really knows your heart and how deceptive and how grimy and how fleshy our hearts are? Like he really does know your heart. So be mindful of the fact that he really does know your heart.
Not only that, he knows everything. He knows what you're going to say before you even say it. Before you even think about
even
saying
before
it.
you pray it, bro.
Yeah.
He already knows what's on your heart. He already knows what you want to be saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Okay, anyway, let's get back to your actual story of why we're here. Because we talked about the piece with abortion, miscarriage. I know you wanted to talk about your sister.
Yes.
Too.
So, about 5 years ago, my younger sister, Dominique Marie, she passed away. We thought it was because of she lived heavily in addiction. She was a heroin and meth addict. She OD'd like 4 times.
Wow.
She would do drugs with her mom, which her mom is in a permanent psychosis right now, and she's not coming out. But she around that time was kind of when we cut off my biological father.
Okay.
So we cut him off, and then we started like a whole case to ultimately get justice. But he also fed into her addiction too. So not only was she doing drugs with her mom, but he also enabled it too. And we don't really know how she passed. I know she died on a Wednesday, and then they called the ambulance for her on a Saturday. And the people that called the ambulance are like her aunt's biological parents, I guess, or something like that. Like she called them Mama and Papa. They were all over her social media, but they turned her in as a Jane Doe. Yeah.
Girl.
I was told that she didn't have any drugs in her system. I'm not entirely too sure about that. I would love to look further into it, but honestly, I don't know what good that would do.
Yeah.
But yeah, she lived heavily into addiction and like really bad. And 3 out of the 5 of my younger siblings are addicts. They do meth. My little brother got arrested on my birthday actually for abducting and strangling somebody.
Girlfriend.
So yes, that is
That's
addiction
heavy.
has just been heavy in my life. Whether it was my own addiction, even though I didn't live the addict life, because it is exhausting and it's not. It's you don't have to pay bills and you don't care and you have no responsibility, but you're living in filth.
Yeah.
You're bouncing from car to house. You have no money. Like my sister used to sell herself for money. Both of my little sisters actually used to do that. So it's just heartbreaking. But I guess my point on addiction is before my walk, I used to always say, oh, addiction's for the weak. I had my own addiction. Was it that intense? No. But like the actual intense, like not wanting to have responsibilities and deal with your life. That I would always be like, that's just weak. Like, that's just like, how can you cope like that? But now that I've followed Christ and I'm like hung go for him and I'm super intense, it was actually what I feel differently, but it was actually what Joe, one of our elders at the church, Cross and Crowns.
Hello.
we were holding the doors Christmas Eve, and we got to talking, and he had mentioned how Satan was the past and God is the future. And I just got to thinking about her. It was like after that, got to thinking about her and just addiction in general, and how, like, why do people become addicts? Because they can't cope with something that's happened to them in the past.
Yeah.
Who keeps dragging them there?
Yeah.
Satan.
Yeah.
And I wish that she would have been alive so we could have had that conversation, because she honestly believed. She went to church as much as she could growing up. Every summer we had a bus come around. I think I told you guys about this at the and it was for summer school, and they always went. She always went to that, and she'd always come back and talk about God and stuff like that. But yeah, addiction has been a battle.
Yeah.
And I know it's a battle for a lot of people. And I feel like a lot of people find God in the midst of their addiction, or in the healing of their addiction, or the, I guess, the sobriety of their addiction.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's
and then
good. I said that's good. Keep going. Go ahead.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
So I feel like I felt compelled to say that, because I don't know who's all is listening. But if you are battling addiction, or maybe you're like on the fence of your faith, or like, it's either I walk with Jesus or I ultimately die in OD, or whatever that may be. Maybe it's a different perspective. Like, you aren't the problem. It's not you. It's Satan. And
that's good.
You're worthy of getting cleaned. So,
And of love.
Of
love.
Of love, of it all. So, but yeah, addiction has been like, just seeing it firsthand. I've seen so many ODs. It's not even funny. I think I mentioned that I saw my first one.
Yeah, when you were young.
At like 7.
Yeah.
So, and then my siblings, and Tom was a drug dealer / addict. I had my own issues. I talked about Molly on the first episode. And it was to the point where, like, we didn't even have to party to do Molly. We could just sit in a basement on a random Tuesday and just do lines.
Just do it. Whew.
Do lines of Molly.
Girl.
And I'm honestly pretty sure I OD'd or started to OD. It was a random Tuesday. We were in somebody's basement, just doing lines, tweaking, honestly.
Yeah.
And like, my eyes, it was hard for my eyes to focus and like center. And then my body started to shake.
Yeah.
And then my stomach just dropped. And I just did not feel, and like, it wasn't like a stomach bug, or like it was just not right.
Yeah.
And so I remember going to the bathroom, and I think I spent like 6 hours in the bathroom with my head in the toilet, just like, and I wasn't even, this is how mad I was at him though, because like, I wasn't even like, how most people, something happens, they're like, oh God, no, I was like, just do it, just end it now. Like, I don't even care. You're not, you're not going to get me to do nothing. And I think somebody brought me a Gatorade. My friend brought me a Gatorade. Best Gatorade I've ever drank in my life. And I ended up like shaking profusely, but then throwing up like all this green snot. And then I died. Like, I, not literally, but like, I just fell to the floor, and I slept there for like 8 hours. Yeah.
Goodness. Girlfriend.
But nobody was going to call the ambulance. That was not, because I wasn't supposed to be there. My friend was I was supposed to be at her house. She was supposed to be at my house. It was like one of those situations.
Yep.
Everybody knew.
Yep.
Like, but I scared them. I remember when I came out of the bathroom in the morning, they were all like, you need to stop doing Molly. You need to chill out. And I think the next day I ended up doing more Molly.
Yeah. I mean, but you're out of it.
Yes, that's
which
true.
is great. Because that's where I want you to focus on too now. Because I know we talked about, like, okay, we've talked about the past, the before. How and when did you decide, like, this is it? I'm giving my full life over to the Lord. What did that look like? Like, how did it start to, like, pivot for you?
So I left around this time. My ex-husband went to church that first Sunday. Started to go to church regularly. And then eventually I came to Cross and Crowns. That was Easter was my first service there. Um Started going to Cross and Crowns, and then I fell out for about a month. I don't know, just wasn't feeling it. I don't know, couldn't explain to you. And then I ended up coming back to Cross and Crowns, and I've been going ever since. Got baptized in September. And then like I was hung go, but I think like because of Jimbo, love Jimbo.
He's an old guy at our church. Just that's all you need to know.
Yeah, he's
that's it.
Just,
whoever you're picturing is correct.
Yes, yeah,
that's him.
Yeah. He's just a character.
Yeah, he is a character for real. That's all you can describe. Like whatever you think a character of an old man is like, that's him.
He says it how it is. Wonderful wisdom. He's been an awesome mentor. But he kind of like really started to teach me like the Lord, if that makes sense. But it wasn't until I don't think there was like a specific moment that I was just like, I'm doing this. It's been a slow process. And then it was like this year, I guess. This year, from the start, has been kind of like a hot mess express, if you will. And I think that I've just decided to latch onto him.
Yeah.
Like you keep testing me, okay? Like
okay,
I'm coming.
I choose you.
Yeah. And then I've started going to the Rock in Pickerington on Thursdays. They've kind of helped too with that. Their fire is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year's been kind of just a hot mess, and I've just been like, Hayley, you've been doing this for almost a year now, but are you have you really committed yourself to this walk?
That's good.
And I truly think that the Lord is, I think it's so quick to be like, oh, Satan's doing this or blame it on the Lord. But I truly think that the Lord has been testing me, just testing my faith. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Do you really have faith in me?
Do you really believe me? Yeah. Do you really? Yeah.
And I do. So
that's good.
Yes, here we are. And I think our group has helped also. And I think I mentioned this too, just your fire has been inspiring also. Just your love for him, the way you talk about him, I'm just like, I want that.
My boyfriend. My man, my husband. That's who he is. That's who the Lord is. Because what were we talking about? Yeah, at the Cross and Crown formal, somebody's like, "Oh, Cheyenne, like, are you seeing anybody?" I said, "The Lord." I'm
like,
seeing Jesus.
God.
I'm dating God. What is the next question, please?
I think you even mentioned like, I'll be single forever.
So with the Lord. Next question. Yeah, but I think that is especially being a woman, it's a beautiful season that you're in. Of like the beginning stages of like full surrendering, because that's when like your intimacy with, like, for me anyway, my intimacy got really, really like heightened. And I literally just did date the Lord. I was like, okay, what are we gonna do today? Like, what is this gonna look like? And I think again, it's in seasons. Like, I miss that season a lot these days. Like, I've been just talking to the Lord about that, of like, I just miss the hours upon hours like I would have to sit and just like exist and be with him. And but also learning to accept his grace in the season that I'm in now, but also not make excuses. Does that make sense? Like, I don't ever want to take advantage of the grace, but I want to let him love me. Yeah. The way that he wants to love me, and be like, do you trust that I'm still around? Like, just because your hours went from 7 hours a day to 3, like, we're still, you know what I mean? So I think it's like also just the beginning stage of faith, and like the journey is like a very beautiful time. And I would love for you to, if you want to share, like, at this early stage, what's been good and helpful for you on your journey of like growing in intimacy with the Lord? Because I think we have a lot of people that listen that are like, what could I start to do? What's been helpful?
Well, when you're starting out, all of it's intimidating. Worship, getting into a Bible, going to a church, finding a church. Sometimes it takes a few tries before you click with a church. But for me, I would have to say, I think that I've started to surround myself with faith-based friends, which is something that I've never like had before. All of my friends have kind of been like, like we've all just been kind of hot messes. Whether it be like drinking and drugs or going to the bars or going to the clubs, or which is nothing wrong. I don't want to like sound like I'm making that horrible or that it is a horrible thing. But it's hard to spend time with the Lord when you're doing those things. And those things don't make him happy. So giving up that would be another one. Like I don't drink.
Yeah.
I just don't feel the need to drink anymore. I haven't smoked weed in over a year now.
Look at the Lord. Won't he
That was
do
the
it?
first thing I gave up. That was so easy.
That was so hard for me.
Really?
Yes. I would be watching a Christian podcast, fried on my couch, and the Lord would be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What are you doing?" I had to literally physically throw everything out because I knew my level of temptation. I was like, I need to get rid of this.
Well, you did it.
I
So
did.
yay.
Girl.
I love that. Proud
it
of
took
you.
a while, but I did it. And I had a backslide a few months after I gave it up, but
Yeah, I started to wean myself off before I even left my ex-husband. So by the time that I left, I was like, I hadn't smoked in like 2 months maybe. So, but yeah, that, and it was intimidating to get into the Bible, but once
I think a lot of people feel that way.
I would suggest to everyone out there, don't get a King James Bible.
Because this girl got a KJ.
Yeah. And I have to read things like 8 times, and then I have to get into a different Bible and compare, and then I have to like call somebody or like text somebody and be like, can we translate this for me? Like,
you should get a Bible from Cross and Crown. They have, I think it's NIV or NLT.
I will.
Yeah. Because they have them at the Connect counter. So I would get one of those there for real.
I'm going to need to. I have a study Bible, and I don't remember if it's NIV or King James, but yes. Nothing wrong with the King James. It's the closest to his word, is what my grandma says. She was very adamant about that, and I think that's why I got it.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's real. But I think, reading it for the first time, I think I read NLT. Is what I read was an NLT Bible or NLT. New Living Translation.
Okay. Get a study Bible. Though that has been wonderful
100%.
to have.
I agree. It's a game changer.
It is. It kind of just like breaks down the verses below, so you can have a better understanding of it. What else has helped me? I think just honestly not making excuses.
Say it again.
Not making excuses.
Okay,
like,
period. I love that.
Like, and when I find myself to start to go down that rabbit hole of just like,
hello,
it's just 5 minutes on my phone, or like, oh, I really need to just eat something.
Oh my, bro, that's me.
I'll take a shower first, or I'll just lay down for a second, then we'll get into it. I'll just do it tomorrow. No big deal, right?
Biggest of deal.
Yeah. So I just try not to make excuses anymore either. And just like if the thought comes in my head, like even if I've already sat down and been in the Bible or had my intimate time with him or talked to him.
Yeah.
And then I get up and I'm like, okay, if I'm being told to get back down, we're sitting right back down and we're going to do it again. And I try not to be like, well, you were just sitting there. Like, we just spent time together. Like, do we really need to spend more time together? Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Because then it's going to get to the point that you don't even ask yes. You're going to be like, yes. Instead of being like, ugh. You're going to be like, ugh. You know
and
what I'm saying?
Also feel like so much better.
Hello?
Like so much
really? That's
happier.
Crazy.
I know.
What?
Sometimes I find myself reading the Bible, like, bippity bopping, like, just
Period.
So happy. I love him. He's great.
Hello. That's so good.
But yeah, those I would say have really helped.
Yeah, and that's helpful. I think that's good. That's good for people to be able to hear and know. And because I agree, mine was a lot of podcasts when I first listened. I was very much discipled through podcasts in a lot of ways of like good, theologically, biblically sound people.
Okay,
that helped me a lot. But one last question before I ask the final question, because I know we got to get rolling. But what does your intimacy with the Lord look like now, like today?
Oh,
Dun, dun.
that's a good question.
Thank you. I tried. It was the Lord.
I think I start my day with a prayer. Always start your day.
She
with a
said,
prayer.
"Hello." You're off your face. Hello.
That's a given. And then the bread book has really been helping me
So good.
get into the Bible in the morning, because normally like I would just do it at night. And that would be like I would talk to him throughout the day. But that was like at night. That I really like had my time with him. So that, and then that Lectio.
The prayer this morning,
Yes.
bro. So good. It's called Lectio 365. It's a great app. It's by 24/7 prayer. Prayer in the morning, prayer in the afternoon, prayer at night. Obviously you can pick and choose what you want to do. You can read it yourself, but I do it where I listen to it. I love to listen to it. So if anybody wants to download that app, I highly recommend. That's why when I texted you this morning, I listened to it. I was like, bro, listen to the one this morning. It's so good.
It does it like, yeah, you say morning, noon, and night. Yeah, it's really good.
I love that one.
And then worship. I always worship in my car. That's just a given. I listen to like regular schmegler music still, but not as often as I
know
used to.
nothing about nothing. It's like when there's like trends or people are like, yeah, with this song, I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never been culturally aware in the sense of like music and movies, but I'm really out of it now. I know nothing, bro.
There's nothing wrong with that, because we love the Lord. So
and he doesn't want me to listen
I
to
actually
it.
found out about Brandon Lake in August, and he was my #1 artist for last year.
Period.
Isn't that crazy?
No, that's beautiful.
He was like #1 for like 5 months.
Bruh.
So like the last 5 months, August.
Do you want to know what's wild?
So 4 months.
T Grizzly was my top artist for like 4 years straight until I gave my life to the Lord, and that was like Hillsong worship and elevation rhythm. And I'm like, how did I go from T Grizzly, bro, literally less than 365 days ago, and now it's just literally all just worship artists or like Christian artists or whatever.
We change for the better. We
Yeah.
change it. It's very it's life-changing. I know that sounds like so cliche to say.
It's true.
But it's true. Like everything about how I move and what I want is like completely different.
It is. It's facts. That's big facts.
Honestly, even like 3 months ago.
Yep.
Like
I
it's
think
just
yes.
It's just different. Like
yes.
I think I was telling you guys the last night that I was super angry, like just a mean person.
Which I don't believe.
I was.
I don't believe you. Like I to this day, when you tell me you were mean and you were angry and you were like the way that you were with your siblings, partners, I'm like, you capping. You were not that person.
I was not nice, and I always looked for a fight.
I don't imagine
yes. I would drink and try to fight grown men. Like, who am I?
Hey!
And I would be so like in my mind, like I could take you. Like,
you're like 95 pounds, but sure.
But yeah, just moving forward with like every relationship is different. It's like
facts.
It's
facts.
And not just saying that because like I'm now divorced and I'm like, oh, I've learned some things, which I have. I've learned some things, but like once you get to know the Lord on an intimate level, and I honestly, you and Morgan really helped me like I kind of already knew it, but it was like hearing you guys say it was like, okay.
Like the affirmation. Yeah, that's good.
But once you get to know him and you receive his love and you accept his love and you spend time with him and you feel his love and it's just like, oh, so great. He sets the bar so high.
Hello?
Like I don't want to be lust after. I don't want breadcrumbs.
Don't look at me like I'm a piece of meat, bro.
Yes, I don't want to feed somebody's ego. I want my friends to be just as in love with him as I am. I want I want every interaction to be I don't bring up the Lord in every single interaction. But
that's how Shep and I are.
I should get better at that. I can admit that. But I do like, somebody's talking to me at work. I'm like, you talk to God about that?
No, big facts, bro.
Yeah.
Big
you
facts.
talk to God about this yet?
I literally do this to Shep all the time. I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying. What do you think the Lord would say?
Yeah.
Like we do that to each other and it's just refreshing to have somebody that chooses that rather than like feeling some type of way with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
But yeah, I just really, he's just, I cannot like stress it enough to run to the Lord.
So good.
And I know that's easier said than done, but
Yeah. But it's not. It's actually pretty easy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Don't lie to people. It's pretty easy. Okay, final question, and we're getting off. How are you finding joy today versus the last time that we spoke? What does your joy look like?
How am I finding joy today?
Mm-hmm.
This is the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
Intimate time with the Lord.
Okay, period. I knew you were going to say that. I literally knew you were going to say that.
That's the only answer. Like,
hello. So
yeah. Yeah, just sitting and being with him, praying to him, talking to him. Yeah. Worshiping with him, praising him.
That's beautiful.
Moving through him. Like, I think one big thing is like I don't want to disappoint him. So just like making sure
is this pleasing to you? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really once you start to realize and point everything back, like, okay, am I doing what I do? Am what I am doing pleasing to the Lord?
Mm-hmm.
Like the thing at the grocery store, was that pleasing to the Lord?
Yeah.
Probably not. That's why you didn't feel good about it.
Oh, he had some things to say. He was like, Hayley, love.
Stop. Cute.
Yes.
Thanks, Boo, for coming back.
Thanks for having me back.
I love you.
Love you too.
For real.
Love you a long time.
Stop. Don't make it. I didn't get it emotional this time, though, so I did good this go round.
Yay.
Period. Okay.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with tears.
Oh, I cry all the time. We know this. We talk about this. It should be my middle name at this point. But
tears are good.
Any final words of encouragement before I sign us off?
If you're having doubts,
don't. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, that was literally gonna be my first response, like to that. But just like when you feel a doubt, know that it's Satan.
Period. That's good.
Actually,
that's really good.
Yeah, and I think you've said that too. Like, that's so rude of him.
It's so rude of him.
Yeah.
I do say that.
How dare you do
How
that?
How dare he make you feel that way? No, that's good. I appreciate you, Boo.
Just know that it's Satan.
Yeah.
And baby steps, baby steps. But you got this.
Period. God's got it. You don't got it. Let's make that
That's
so
right.
clear. You do not got it. God's got it.
God's got it. And because God's got it, you got it.
Period. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, we love y'all. Thank you for listening to our conversations always. Apple, YouTube, Spotify. DM me. I don't know. We love you. We'll see you back. Take care.